What is future faking? I will tell you later. What did you feel when you heard that sentence after being drawn by the title of this video? Disappointment? Irritation? Annoyance? Amusement? Perhaps even a familiar tightness in the chest? A mixture of all of the above? Future faking is a manipulation, and it is one which is commonly used by all subschools of narcissists. With regard to lesser narcissists, their use is often lacking in sophistication. It is instinctive, invariably vague, and is of questionable provenance. Here are some examples. I want to see you again. I want to marry you. I will buy you that mansion. This being said, even though the narcissist has no money and no job. Mid-range narcissists. Future faking is used often. It's subtle and more sophisticated than that of the lesser. Also instinctive. More likely to be specific. More likely to be plausible. Here are some examples. I want us to go on holiday this summer together, somewhere like the Maldives. I can see you and me as a married couple. I want to marry you in the autumn next year by the latest. Start looking for that new car I will buy you. Why not have a look at the Mercedes dealership over at Pleasantville? Greater narcissist in the ultra. Future faking by us is infrequent. This is because we are more likely to deliver as a consequence of greater ability, resource, network, and reach. Where it is used, it is done with greater sophistication. Occasionally instinctive, but usually calculated, and is highly plausible. An example would be, I have emailed you some houses to look at. I really like the 4th and 6th ones in the list. They're in the countryside, so there will be room for the animals to roam as well, but not so far away as to make getting to work a chore. You have a look at it and let me know what you think. We can talk about this over dinner. So, what is future faking? Simply put, it is the imposition of control and acquisition of fuel in the now using a future event. Let that sink in, and I will repeat it. It is the imposition of control and acquisition of fuel in the now using a future event. Our victims find future faking upsetting, bewildering, and infuriating. Why did he promise to marry me and never do it? Why tell me we could live together if he never intended to go through with it? Why arrange to have dinner with me and then fail to show up, not even texting me to say that he could not make it? There was an intention to deliver at the point of making the statement, but immediately thereafter, there was never any requirement to deliver on the original statement, but you are conned into thinking that the intention was genuine. Why were you conned? 1. Future faking is an easy manipulation to use because it relies on a spoken or written intent with no associated requirement to deliver. Remember, because of our lack of emotional empathy, because of our need to achieve the prime aims but without accountability, because we want to achieve things fast, effectively and efficiently, because we have no sense of accountability and a rampant sense of entitlement, we will say something meaning it in that instant, where it is lesser and mid-range, although moments later it can be forgotten about. And although there is no underlying genuine intent to deliver, at the point of saying it, the lesser and mid-range narcissists do mean it, but it is worthless because they are narcissists. You, as a non-narcissist, will invariably follow up on what you say you're going to do. You keep your promises, in effect, because your emotional empathy causes that to happen. And if you cannot do so, you will explain well in advance, still try to deliver, even if it's late, and or find alternative ways of achieving that delivery. Greater narcissists may well intend to deliver at the point of issuing the statement, but then will change their mind and not be bothered about it because of the lack of remorse, lack of conscience, lack of guilt. Alternatively, a greater narcissist in the ultra will make a statement of intent, knowing full well they don't intend to deliver on it. The greater in the ultra know that they're telling a lie. The lesser and mid-range do not. They believe it when they say it, but they can never be held to it. Remember the narcissist conditional asterisk? If you're not familiar with that, make sure you go to the video of the same name and listen. So future faking is an easy manipulation. It's very low in energy expenditure, and as you should know, we like to achieve the maximum outcome with the minimum expenditure of time, energy, and money. You, as an empathic victim, operate on the basis that if you say you will do something, you will, unless there are exceptionally valid reasons to deliver on that promise. Therefore, you end up expecting others to operate to the same standard of behaviour. You are coaxed into thinking that since the person that you are entangled with is similar to you, because of course you do not know that he or she is a narcissist, then they will behave in the same way as you, i.e. deliver on the promise. You keep your promises, you expect other people to do the same. 3. Your emotional thinking wants you to continue to engage with the narcissist. Therefore, it corrupts certain of your empathic traits, for example, honesty, love, devotee, and/or decency, so that you believe that the narcissist will deliver on this stated intention, because that is what honest and decent people do. We, of course, don't have any empathic traits. We are neither honest nor decent. You, however, do not know that, or you fail to abide by the logic of knowing that when your emotional thinking soars and subsumes logic within it. The former scenario occurs when you do not know that you are ensnared by a narcissist, and therefore you are led into thinking that this person will operate to the same standards as you. The latter scenario is when you know you are dealing with a narcissist and you know about future faking, or you don't know you're dealing with a narcissist, but you have noted, logically and based on evidence, that this person keeps promising things and doesn't deliver. But, notwithstanding this fix of logic, you fail to take heed of it because of soaring emotional thinking outweighing it. An example of this might be, this is the third time that he's promised me to take me to that new restaurant, but he blew me out the last 2 times. He was clearly sorry to have done that. I could tell, so I don't think he'll do it a third time. That is where your emotional thinking has corrupted an empathic trait of yours, so you ignore the logic. Number 4, the corruption of your love devotee trait would involve some grand romantic gesture, and again, your emotional thinking overrides logic. An example would be, I will take you to the Maldives next month. You know he has no money and no job, so how can he afford it? Thus, it is questionable that he could ever deliver on this. But you fail to pay attention to this future faking by either A, thinking it is a lovely romantic gesture and ignoring completely his lack of apparent resources to achieve this, or B, thinking it is a lovely romantic gesture, you're not sure how he will pay for it, but he must mean it, so he must have something up his sleeve to achieve this. Savings, he's borrowed the money, he has a magic wand. Or C, you know he can't deliver, but you think the intent is sweet anyway, and you don't actually mind that he can't deliver. Indeed, you will end up paying, in more ways than one, instead, or not go, and you don't mind. Future faking is, for the most part, nothing to do with the narcissist changing his or her mind. The only time where it is a change of mind is with the greater or the ultra. And since that is only a very small proportion of narcissists, for you, being more involved with lesser and mid-range narcissists, what this means is that For you, it's nothing to do with the narcissist changing his or her mind. It's nothing to do with you making a mistake, annoying the narcissist or messing things up so the promised event is not delivered. Although, of course, a combination of our blame shifting and your emotional thinking corrupting your empathic trait of guilt will make you think that you have derailed the opportunity to travel to the land of milk and honey. Often, because you don't know what you're dealing with and you're mystified by the behaviour, you are left thinking, I must have done something wrong and that's why he's changed his mind. No. All it is, you're dealing with a less than mid-range narcissist. The narcissist doesn't have to follow up on it because the statement already achieved control over you, and that's all that mattered. When the lesser or mid-range narcissist issues a promise or statement of intent with regard to some future event, whether it is, I will mow the lawn, through to, I am taking you on a 90-day world cruise, or from, I promise I will see you next Friday, through to, I'm marrying you someday, there is actually a very high risk that this is future faking. Occasionally there's delivery, and this is more likely in the seduction phase, but usually there isn't. Why? If we've got what we wanted, control and fuel, there's no need to do anything more. If the issuing of the statement itself gets what we want, we won't follow up. The lesser or mid-range narcissist means it when it's stated. Thus, when you suggest they're not going to deliver, you're challenging them, and they'll be mortally offended by this challenge field issue by you, and therefore the narcissist will respond in order to assert control. The original future faking statement is instinctively issued, and at that point is believed by the narcissist in order to assert control over you and to gain fuel. Thus, let's take an example. So, the narcissist, for instance, will say, I will call you tomorrow and we can arrange to go for dinner on Saturday night. It's a future event. It's a spoken statement, so low energy, for the purpose of controlling the victim. Shelf, intimate partner, secondary source, victim. So maybe someone the narcissist is dating, maybe a booty call, maybe a mistress. Responds with, that would be great. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again. Therefore, control has been maintained in that instant and positive fuel has been provided to the narcissist. The following day, the narcissist calls and converses and makes arrangements for Saturday night with the victim. Control, again, is obtained within this instant. The victim is pleased and their enthusiastic responses provide positive fuel to the narcissist. Then Saturday comes. The narcissist has a Hoover trigger from a different shelf IPSS, so that appliance comes up on the radar. Perhaps they've texted the individual. And the Hoover execution criteria, which you'll learn more about in different videos, that criteria are met. And that means that the narcissist hoovers the different shelf IPSS by going out for dinner with them. This happens because the narcissist had an instinctive need for control over that different appliance in that moment. And at that moment, the first shelf IPSS was not on the mind of the narcissist. Why? They were not in a sphere of influence and they were already under control because of the prior events. The narcissist does not attend dinner with the first shelf IPSS who he had made the arrangements with, and does not even message to cancel, because the narcissism deems that that's not necessary. Why expend energy unnecessarily? The narcissist has no emotional empathy, therefore the narcissist does not instinctively feel behaving this way is bad, ill-mannered, impolite, and therefore does nothing about it. The narcissist also may not have any cognitive empathy and may not have any facade management. Therefore, there is no need to send a message cancelling. The narcissist is completely unaware that such a step would be seen as the polite thing to do. A narcissist who has cognitive empathy might send such a message cancelling the dinner if the instinctive need for control deemed this as an appropriate step. So, He goes out for dinner with the second appliance, but issues an apology to the first one, not because he's sorry, not because he cares, remember he has no emotional empathy, but to control that first appliance. Remember, the narcissist's sense of entitlement means that he does whatever he wants, when he wants, and with whomever he chooses. And the innate lack of accountability, namely, I am not accountable to anybody for what I do, then the narcissist fails to turn up to the dinner date with the first shelf and goes off with the second shelf, because in that moment, this was the best outcome for the narcissist. It doesn't matter if this causes merry hell with the first shelf, because the narcissism isn't concerned about what happens next. It's not interested in the collateral consequence. It's interested about the control in the moment. The fact that the first shelf victim may become angry with the narcissist is not at the forefront of the lesser or mid-range narcissist's mind. You would think that it would be, but remember, you're not looking at it through the narcissistic perspective. The consequences of that anger or upset are down the line, and therefore not of importance. What matters is now. Not yesterday, nor tomorrow, but now. The narcissist will deal with the collateral consequence of his failure to turn up when the narcissist sees fit to do so, driven by a sense of entitlement, lack of emotional empathy, and lack of accountability. This might be done by issuing an excuse, claiming the first shelf never confirmed with the narcissist that dinner was to be had, blame shifting, and the revision of history, focusing on something else, deflection, or quite simply ignoring the first shelf's messages of annoyance, silent treatment. There are, of course, further manipulations that could be deployed. The anger of the stood-up first shelf victim then manifests as challenge fuel, threatens the narcissist's control, and the response of the narcissist, whether active or not, is a manipulation instinctively occasioned for the purposes of asserting control again by quelling the challenge and gaining fuel to boot. Where you're dealing with lesser or mid-range, do understand the narcissist does not change his mind. He meant to deliver, that's the conscious thought, but unconsciously his narcissism meant that he's highly unlikely to do so, because it's not about the achieving of the future event, which is what you victims focus on mistakenly, but it's all about achieving control now. And this is used by referring to a future event to achieve that, hence future faking. The greater or ultra will either issue the promise and deliver, having greater resource and ability to do so, or issue the promise knowing there'll be no delivery, calculated future faking, because the greater or ultra deems that this is the best allocation of resources in order to achieve control and fuel, and is quite content to lie about it, because quite simply, we do not care. For the majority of you, you will have encountered this from a lesser or mid-range narcissist, and understand it is instinctive, frequent, and all about controlling you now by promising something later. And that is what future faking is all about. Thank you for listening.